It is the end of the season somehow, and we have to go through some predictions we make, but then we're also going to go through the playoffs a bit. Someone had some killer predictions on Twitter. I don't know if you saw them, Cole, but you did write them. I would say, even though the Albies one was technically wrong, I think that's a major W. Like,
Yeah.
what did you predicted 2020 10 10
20
or
doubles,
20
20
10
homers, like
triples,
10 triples, and then 20 steals as well.
20 20
Yeah.
20 steals. Albies finished with 30 homers, 30 doubles, 5 triples. I mean, triples are a crapshoot. And then he
Yeah.
finished with 13 steals. I'll put that tweet up in the edit, but
You could definitely
I saw
distribute.
that I saw that prediction. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah,
Uh,
you can definitely distribute those
ugh,
numbers into fitting. You can take some homers away, make them triples, and it still looks good. It's still pretty much
it
kind of
was
the
an
gist of
excellent
it.
prediction.
Um,
We
I
also made
think,
predictions on the show. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Do you have some of your predictions? The only thing I was gonna say was I think the conversation we had on this podcast was what made me higher on Matt Olson, but I think that was the best prediction. The Spencer Strider one, I mean, 275 plus strikeouts is a lot, but if there was like
Yeah.
one guy on the planet that makes it a virtual lock, it would have been Spencer Strider. Michael Soroka, that one's just unfortunate. He never really got going and ended up being shut down due to forearm tightness. So hopefully next year, maybe he's still in the running if
Yeah,
he is able to
hopefully
make a
he's
full
still in the
recovery.
organization. We'll talk
Yeah,
about that for sure when
when the
there's no more
time comes.
baseball.
What were some of
My
your
predictions
predictions?
sucked. So on the tweet predictions, mine was just that we had 2 no hitters. It's the thing I'm obsessed with. It's the bucket list thing. The
Yeah.
Braves have won the World Series. Hopefully, we're talking about a World Series victory in a month. Uh, but aside from like a 4 homer game, the which I just don't think is gonna happen. It just take the last person that hit 4 homers in a game was Scooter Gennett. Like, it's
2018,
just the
baby.
most random thing that ever happens. But no hitters, it's just like I need to see a no hitter from the Braves in my lifetime, and that just has not happened. We also made some predictions on this show, and I still think you got much closer than I did. I think you made more predictions though.
Yeah, so we're just going off the second half predictions. Just for those who are listening at home, we are very much a work in progress as a show, and we're getting better at keeping track of what we say so we can be accountable. But we do have our second half predictions up. Most of them we covered. Did we cover them on the last show? We might have. Basically, okay, I'm just going to quickly run through mine. First one, Braves post the lowest starter ERA in the second half. That did not happen, not even close. There was a second where it was looking like it was going in the right direction, and then absolutely nosedived, took the L there. My next one was Ronald slows his stolen base pace while picking up homer pace. I was half right. He did pick up his homer pace by a lot. He somehow,
We're conservative on the steals.
yeah, very conservative on the steals. He still finished 40-70. I literally every morning I wake up in disbelief that that actually happened, that he actually reached both those numbers. He ended the year with 41 homers, 73 stolen bases. Absolutely insane season. People are debating, oh, does it matter because of the larger bases? We've talked about this on this program. I think hindsight will benefit us greatly. Right now, too early to tell just how impressive it is, but just enjoy it while we have it.
It's impressive enough to stop the game in the 10th inning, I would say.
Oh my God, Cubs fans, they are not happy, and if they're going to use that as the reason they're not in the playoffs right now, and that is very, very salty, very lame. I love you, Cubs fans too. I love Cubs fans.
Boog Shambi. I was so disappointed in Boog Shambi. Like, I still do. I think he's a phenomenal sports broadcaster, but he tripled down on the went on one podcast, doubled down, went on another podcast, tripled down. And he was just saying, yeah, it's the 10th inning. You don't stop the moments for these. And it's like, you do. Like,
Yeah.
every person who ever got a 40-40 did that.
Yeah.
Acuna didn't have the chance to do the 30-30 thing at home, or the 30-60, or the 40-40. Give him the 40-70 moment, you know?
Yeah.
Like, at home. And it lasted, I think I saw someone time it. It lasted like 80 seconds.
Yeah. It really
was
wasn't
efficient.
that big of a deal.
It
yeah.
was nothing.
Yeah. I mean, and then they were super passive aggressive about it. He stole a 71st base. And they're like, oh, are they going to stop the game for that? It's like, dude, we like round numbers, okay? Like, get over it. You're a baseball announcer. You, of all people, should understand the importance of round numbers. Is it arbitrary? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Like, of course it is.
But fun. It's a phenomenal achievement.
That's why
He's
we
the only
watch the
person
game.
to ever do it. And it's
Like,
not our fault that
like
your
if
team decided to have a monumental tank job.
Yeah.
October
And
or
it's like,
September.
if you're going to be that reductive, I mean, just go all the way with it, you know? Like, oh, wow, you know, we should be celebrating, you know, the fact that Cody Bellinger hit 317. That's a great number. That's a great mark. The 317. Like, if you're going to do it, like, you're just going to go down a slippery slope that you're not going to be able to finish. You're not going to be able to see the end of if you're really going to be that reductive about, oh, you know, it really doesn't matter. It's just like, I don't know. That was a frustrating moment just to kind of have to die on that hill for some reason. My next one is Strider ends the season with a 14 K per 9. He actually finished with a 13.5.
so close.
Yeah.
So close.
We will get into our possible concerns about Spencer Strider going into the postseason. You know, maybe if you take the fans out, you know, maybe we should have like a reverse boycott thing that the A's had, where we just, whenever he's pitching, like game 1 or game 2, whenever they announce it, just nobody shows up. We just let him have
I think
the stadium.
all of the Braves fans should not show up for the tickets that they buy for, you know, $500 on SeatGeek, and then just the moment of just gift them to a random fan in Washington D.C.
Mm-hmm.
And another random fan in Atlanta, and, you know, give us the random fan the right behind home plate. Actually,
That'd be pretty cool.
The $3,000, the $4,000 tickets.
They won't holler.
You know, it's what Spencer Strider wants.
Yeah.
You know?
We'll like make sure we won't mind if, you know, he wants to be the DJ for that game too, and, you know, put some strokes on, put some Wayas blood on. Like, we're fine with that. We're not going to complain. You know, I mean, they're not going to complain.
Bravescast@gmail.com. Just, you know.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Putting it out there.
If you can't make it, you know, it's cool. All right, next one. Kyle Ray does not make much of an impact on the team for the rest of the season. This is a weird one because he pretty much turned into a long reliever to end the season, and that might be his role. So I was a little too vague on this prediction.
About that in the postseason preview for sure.
I'm going to take it as a win. AJ Smith-Shawver ends up making the postseason roster as a reliever. We don't know that yet.
I think he will. He looked.
If he makes it over, yeah. I mean, Tonkin. I have a theory about Tonkin, though, and I know it's not true. I know a guy who is out of the game for however long he was. He's not going to purposely throw a game. I know that's not true. Like, this is a conspiracy that I know is not based in reality. But it would be fun to think that
there was a time where the fans were rooting for you to do something and you did it, you'd do it, especially if you knew you could.
And you know, and by the way, just, you know, just so if anybody's clipping this or taking this out of context, we're being totally facetious here. You know, Marcell Ozuna is like making what, 20 mil this year. I mean, you know, just throws Michael Tonkin like a mil, you know, so he could, because he was on a heater this series. He knew he was getting number 40. He knew he was tying the record. He was facing like Kyle Finnegan or someone, like a guy who like he could have his way with. You know, maybe Marcell Ozuna slipped him. You know, he didn't have to play the field. You know, I mean, it's not like he was out there for any longer. Just, hey, you know, if you want to blow this game, I can come
It's
in
what the
the
fans want you to do.
bottom of the ninth and, get 307, get my 40th homer, like round
What are you gonna
out
do?
my
Get
year.
DFA'd on the last game of the season?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Not make the postseason roster? Oh, oh, oh. That's not true.
But yeah,
Again, we were being totally
every
facetious.
fan. I don't. This is the only time I've ever seen collectively Braves fans go blow the save, blow the save,
Yeah.
and then cheer when that happens.
Yeah. It was
I was certainly
it was the most satisfying loss since that game against the Reds, because it's like, this game doesn't matter. We just want to tie the record. Speaking of the record, so I'm really glad we tied it, because in my mind, and I hate doing this, just because, again, you start slicing the game down this way. It's like, when are you going to stop slicing? You kind of have to be consistent with it. If you don't follow what's on paper, the steroid argument is a huge falls under this umbrella. To me, the Braves record was the true record, even if they didn't tie it. Not that the 2019 season, and again, I hate doing this, it's not that those homers weren't hit. They were, but the pace that they were hit at was pretty crazy. It was pretty insane.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, 2019 just didn't happen, especially the NLDS. But when you look at the gap between the Twins and the rest of the field that year, and you looked at the gap this year between the Braves and the rest of the field, it's been a few weeks since I last looked, but when I last looked, the difference between the Braves and the Dodgers in home runs was like the difference between the number 2 team, the Dodgers, and like the 15th or 16th best.
It was, I remember at one
team.
point, I don't know if this is true anymore either, but at one point it was like you could take out Matt Olson's homer total and they would still have the lead. Like, that's how
what happened. I think that's how it ended.
So, 2019, like 29, 28 teams set their franchise record. That tells you everything you need to know. So now that it's tied, if it wasn't tied, there would be a lot of like, whoa, what's the true record? Not that it really matters, but now that it's tied, I think history won't lose the fact that the Braves 307 is a lot more impressive than the Twins 307. I think if they were second, they get overshadowed. It doesn't really have like the same oomph factor. But now that it's tied, you can look at both seasons, go, oh wait, the Braves 307 is like feels more legitimate. Not that the 2019 season isn't legitimate, but the Braves record feels like the record, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It makes sense. And when you look at the tie of the record, there'll be debates, but I don't think it'll be a very passionate debate unless you're apparently Twins fans did not know this.
They take pride in it.
They're very passionate. I had no idea. Thankfully, it was not my video, but a few weeks ago, I was thinking, do Twins fans exist? And my answer has been answered. It's been answered. They're very passionate. If you call them frauds, they will quote tweet you en masse.
I thought they were.
It was us who had to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about like them being passionate about the home run record. Like, that's it. To be fair,
if you called their home run record fraudulent, I'm sure they'd come after you.
Good point. Touche. I was just gonna say too. It's like, when you're on an 18 game postseason losing streak, you tend to want to hold on to whatever you can, including team home run records. Okay, next one. Ozzy Albies slows down but still finishes with a career high in homers, RBIs, and slugging. I would say I didn't check his month stats. He didn't slow down too much.
You were.
Well, he got injured. He got
home runs, RBIs.
Yeah.
Slugging. You nailed that one.
And then another one. Austin Riley heats up in July, August, ends the season with an 850 OPS.
Nailed that one.
I made that. He was still kind of struggling when I made that prediction.
I think he still had an OPS under 8 when you made that prediction. That's an incredibly bold prediction.
I believe him up. I believe in my boy.
He finished it with 10 points. He cleared it by 10 points. So,
we're not going to be able to until November. 4 Braves players receive MVP votes. Matt Olson Ron Acuna Jr., Matt Olson, and then like Sean Murphy, Austin Riley, Marcell Ozuna, maybe even Ozzy. Like I think 4 players are gonna. I think that's pretty much it. And then Michael
MVP
Soroka.
votes, yeah.
Michael Soroka ends the year with a below average ERA play. Doesn't make the postseason roster. Sad,
Tragic.
but true. All right, Mitchell, your predictions.
So, my predictions were a lot less, and they weren't great. So, my first prediction was that the Braves would make a shocking move at the trade deadline. I really wanted them to go all in on Juan Soto. I thought that the time was now to trade Bryce Elder. I was probably right about that. And Elder plus a few other people like Grissom would have gotten you Soto, would have cleared your farm system, but the Braves technically could have done it. Didn't happen. The shocking move, though, was that they traded Taylor Hearn, who they got off waivers, straight up for Nicky Lopez, who was a great addition to the team.
Yeah.
He actually finished, I know he had the hot streak and he's not normally a great hitter, but he did finish with the Braves with a 91 WRC plus, which is great when you couple that in with an excellent defense.
Yeah, for an infielder who can play all positions in the infield and
just
is above average
trade.
to elite. Yeah.
The next prediction was the Braves pitcher would finally throw a no-hitter. We've already talked about that. They did not. I had the caveat that it wouldn't be Spencer Strider. Didn't matter. Braves pitchers are allergic to no-hitters. It just comes with the territory. You can have 3 of the greatest pitchers of all time on the same pitching staff for a decade, and they won't throw a no-hitter.
What's the closest?
Matt Olson hits his...
I was going to say, what's the closest we got? Was it Max Fried's return start against the Cubs? Because I know he had like...
This year? Yeah.
He went through, I think Cody Bellinger...
It was like 6 no-hit innings.
Yeah.
5? Oh, Spencer Strider. This in the first half at least.
Yeah, I was gonna say in the second half. Yeah.
This one is bad because it was so obvious. It was Matt Olson would hit his 40th homer before September. He almost hit 50 by the time it was September.
Yeah.
Just a stupid prediction. That would be like saying that Ronald Acuna Jr. was gonna hit 20 home runs. Like, come on, Mitchell. That's not a bold prediction.
But you did get it right, so.
I got it right, but it wasn't a good prediction. So, I'm not.
History will remember your prediction fondly, even if it wasn't that bold.
Yeah, and 100 years from now, there will be books that cite that prediction. Ronald Acuna Jr. would go on a homer rampage, and we start talking about a 50-50.
To be fair, if he didn't hit the ball on the ground so much in the first half, he would have hit 50 homers.
He probably would have. I think the problem with that prediction is we were doing that on like July 10th, which meant that he would have needed to hit 10 homers a month.
Yeah.
Or 11 homers a month, which is hard to do. He did have like 12 homers this past month. Insane, but he would have also needed to do that in August and over the remaining month of July. That's just a lot to ask for. I didn't do the math on that.
But I think a better one would have been he would have started on a 50 homer pace in the second half. Like not that we would be talking about a 50. Well, no, that's what he did say. Okay. I'm going to kind of give this one to you because I think I knew what you were going for. Like he would up his homer pace and sort of start that conversation, which like it was a little, I mean, he ended at 41, but he did up his pace and he was, I would say, on about a 50 homer pace in the second half. So I'll kind of give that one to you. Because I mean,
like a half W.
I think when he made that prediction, he was like on pace for like the low 30s for homers.
I think
maybe a little bit more.
He was on the pace for low 30s, so the fact that he got 41 was pretty incredible.
Pretty insane. Yeah.
And then my last prediction, which is kind of funny because if we had recorded this 2 weeks ago, I would have written off the Marlins. And now they might play the Braves. But it was that the Marlins don't cool off and they are the only threat to the division. I'm so scared for this this wild card series. The Phillies are really good. They're really good. I just watched
Yeah.
Foolish Bailey's video on Bryce Harper playing first base, and the guy who is playing center field now that they got Schwarber out of the outfield.
Dude,
They've
that guy's
won
insane.
30 out of their last 49 games
Yeah.
with him just playing a game.
Yeah.
Like pinch running, defensive replacement.
I remember watching him in the series in Philadelphia, the last series in Philadelphia, and just asking myself, like, where did this guy come from?
I'd
Like,
never heard of him. I actually, his name's what? Johan
Rojas. Shades
Rojas.
of, like,
Okay.
Shane Victorino, like, just covers all the ground in center field. Decent, like, for his age, like, a decent hitter already. I mean, I'm not, like, the biggest on keeping up with every team's, like, top prospects, but I did not see this guy at all.
No, I didn't have him on my radar. Is this what it's like to be a fan of another team and the Braves just call up these guys who are not supposed to be in the majors?
Yeah, right?
And then
Yeah.
they win Rookie of the Year. That's what it feels like with this guy. I guess this segues nicely into the next question because we only have, 10 minutes before we need to get off?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so I think the coward in me is terrified of playing the Phillies again.
Me too.
I just do not want to go back into as if I'm part of the team, but I don't want to watch the Braves go back into Citizens Bank Park and get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Phillies fans, if you are a Philly and you're playing well, best fans in baseball. If you are a superstar who's underperforming and they decide to give you a standing ovation and you turn into Babe Ruth, excellent fan base. If you're an opposing team, I think they have one of the most intimidating fan bases in the league.
Yeah.
And that's kudos to them. Like that's a stadium I don't want to go into as a player.
No.
They are ruthless. They are relentless, and that's a great fan base to have behind your team in a playoff environment. So the coward in me, the guy who is not getting paid millions of dollars to play professional baseball, does not want to watch my favorite team go into Philadelphia. But I think the players might. Like, I think players want that shot at redemption, especially after last year when, there was a bug going around. Max Fried lost 15 pounds. Strider came back injured. What do you think?
Yeah, so both teams, it's easy to forget this. Both teams we handled this season. Phillies, we won 8 games against, 7 or 8. I mean, we won the season series against them and
Easily.
then some. So, and with the Phillies, I feel each of those series were competitive in a way where, we saw Zach Wheeler, we saw Aaron Nola, we saw Ranger Suarez, we saw there's, oh my God, that other guy they have, the lefty.
Guy, Christopher Sanchez, ate us up twice.
Yeah. So, but we still, I mean, we still came out with the season series, but there is that element of if they bounce us out of the playoffs 2 years in a row, as fans, we're just going to have to eat it. More Reese Hoskins gifts, more fucking Bryce Harper. Probably he's going to, I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. Bryce Harper might be just like one of the best pure left-handed hitters we've seen this century. And I'm including him in that conversation with Barry Bonds. He is, I'm thinking about the postseason last year. I mean, he was a monster, and he was doing, I know it didn't affect his swing too much, but he was doing that with like a torn UCL he needed Tommy John surgery for that. He's heating up. He touched up Spencer Strider last time they were in Atlanta. He's just going to be one of those guys. I can see him getting intentionally walked more than. Okay, we got 10 minutes now. I see him getting intentionally walked more than. Oh my God, we actually pitched to him, just because he's that dangerous. So I think it's scary. It's a scary series. There's really no way to put it. I definitely fear the Phillies a lot more than the Marlins. I think really our saving grace is if the Marlins-Phillies series goes to 3 games, forces them to use their gets on my eye. Sorry, forces them to use their pitching depth. Their bullpen's still relatively thin. Jeff Hoffman came out of nowhere. He was another Rockies guy who the Rockies thought would work, even though he's a curveball heavy reliever, and their team makes no sense. He's been their best reliever this season. I know Sir Anthony Dominguez and Jose Alvarado have struggled a little bit this year, but I wouldn't count them out in the playoffs. They're still going to be big options for Rob Thompson. I would definitely rather see the Marlins. All that to say is I'd rather see the Marlins. Sorry, Marlins fans.
The Marlins, though, like if we're just rating how bad a loss would feel, I think if the Braves lost to the Phillies, I'd feel embarrassment. Just 2 years in a row, we had a much better record going into the series. They had to play in the wild card series, and they beat us. The Marlins, I would just feel humiliation because they have no business beating the Braves in the DS.
Not at all, and they're a workhorse short. Sandy Alcantara is probably going to get Tommy John surgery, so he's obviously not pitching unless they get really desperate, which they might.
They might.
And every one of their starters. I mean, Jesus Luzardo, he tore us up. I love me some Jesus Lizard, man. He one of my favorite lefty. I just love lefty pitchers. I just realized that the other day. Like lefty pitchers fascinate me, but. Jesus Luzardo, he tore us up. To be fair, we've already said this. I'm not taking much stock in the last series we played against the Marlins. We just
absolutely
clinched the East. Team was a little hungover. We're a little hungover as a team. Understandable. You were in Philadelphia when you clinched. I mean, like, if you're not getting just absolutely hammered that night, that weekend, even in Miami, like, what are you doing? So
what are you even doing?
Yeah, and then we came out, shoved against Philadelphia, so we proved that we were still the Braves at the end of the day. To me, the Marlins beating us just feels so inconceivable. Like, it's just not even it doesn't even register in my mind. That might sound awful.
Yeah, I didn't even consider it, but then I thought about what a loss would mean.
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, the 5 Marlins fans who exist would tear us apart. And I just could not hold my head
Never
high
hear the end of it.
After being a Braves fan for 20, this is my 21st year, I guess, of being a Braves fan. And I don't think I would feel, even at like the losing in the first inning against the Cardinals, I wouldn't feel as low as I would losing a series to the Marlins.
It would feel, as a Braves fan, I'd be sad, but as a baseball fan, I would feel some joy for the Marlins just because of like how much we've just beat on them, like for the last 5 years. Dating back to, I don't have the record on me, but dating back to 2018, if you told me that we have a 700 win percentage against the Marlins, I would believe you. I wouldn't even think twice about it. That sounds low. 700.
I think the Braves kicked the Marlins' ass for the past, ever since Jose Urena started being an asshole. The Braves
that does actually
have had a massive vendetta against the Marlins.
That actually does sound okay. I'm gonna say 750. That is a.
We'll go back. We'll look at it after the break, and we'll see just how bad I'm wrong. But there's so many series where. It feels like playing the Rockies this year for a few of those years where the Braves were just so much better than the Marlins.
Yeah. And even this year.
What
are you saying?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, even this year, like the Marlins did not, even discounting when they swept us in Miami, the Marlins did not look like a playoff team when we played them.
Ever.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely shocked that Kemong was able to build a team or make acquisitions into October to build a team that is playoff bound. They earned the playoff spot. Don't get me wrong. It's not just that the Cubs tanked. The Cubs tanked. That was one of the worst jobs I've ever seen since 2011. But the Marlins had to win.
Yeah.
They had to win every game that they won to get to the playoffs. They had no room
Yeah.
for error. I think they had, going into that last week, they lost to once or twice, and they only had room to lose twice. So
Yeah,
they did what they had to do.
yeah, and they definitely. This is gonna sound bad, and I swear that the one Marlins fan out of the 5 total Marlins fans that exist that are listening to this, I don't want to come off as bullying or anything, but they did scrap and claw, and this is my total Monday morning radio talk show host take, but I'm going to physically cringe after I say this. They don't feel like a playoff team. Is that bad? Is that the most boomer take that I've said on this podcast? That they just don't have, like, the Diamondbacks, because they have Zach Gallen, Merrill Kelly. They have Corbin Carroll, who's a absolute lightning rod. They have decent lineup depth with Christian Walker and I don't want to say Perdomo. Ketel Marte. Yeah, I almost said Perdomo, but. They feel more like a playoff team than the Marlins do. And, I understand Jake Berger, Josh Bell, they've added a lot to this team. They don't make the postseason without those 2 guys.
Jake Berger might be one of the greatest trade deadline acquisitions of the decade.
Yeah.
I don't think they gave him up much to get him from the White Sox. They promoted him like hell. They got fans to the ballpark. Berger bought into all of the promotions. He was having fun playing for this Marlins team. No one goes to Miami and has fun playing for the Marlins. Jake Berger did, and I think that's just the energy they needed.
They do kind of have a vibe to them. I am very much looking forward to seeing Jazz Chisholm Jr. what he does, even though it's going to be in Philadelphia, and if they don't make a pass, like it is going to be nice seeing him in the spotlight. He struggled this year with injuries, even though he was amazing in center field, even though it was a position he never played in the majors. So it is going to be fun. It's going to be fun seeing Jorge Soler back in the playoffs. We definitely we can definitely go down our revenge scenarios when we get back from the break. Do you want to take a break, or do we want to end it here, or?
Yeah, we can take a break. My last thing is just that the Marlins actually won this season series against the Phillies. So,
go Fish Army. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah,
go Fish. Let's go.
All right, cool. We will be back. We will go over postseason roster predictions. Well, okay. Sidebar. Sidebar. Do you think they're going to be released by the time we put the episode out? Like, when do you think they're going to release?
Braves will not release their postseason roster until Friday.
Right. Okay.
Saturday,
Cool.
Saturday,
Awesome.
Saturday morning.
Yeah. I was more like, because we don't need to release it like tomorrow, but I just want to make sure. Cool. Okay. We can include this in the episode too. But when we get back, postseason roster predictions. We can talk more about the teams we could be potentially facing, as well as revenge tour scenarios. All right, we will be back.
Somebody told me you had a boyfriend like a girlfriend that I had.
All right, welcome back to the Fish family. We are here to talk Marlins baseball.
Let's go, Fish. Let's go.
John Birdie, what do you think? John Birdie, I like the guy. I just don't know if I dig his vibes. I don't know if it's really
run
Miami.
as much as he should have this year.
Yeah.
I'm really disappointed. He led the major leagues in 2022 in steals, and then he let some loser named Ronald Acuna Jr. run laps around him. Completely despicable.
Not a team player, man. Luis Arise, I think he hits too many singles. I think he needs to start gunning for the upper deck more.
I think he hits too many
Miami-
home runs. I think it's selfish of him
To hit
to
home
hit
runs?
as many as home runs as he did. What did he have? Like 6? That could have been like 12 singles. He could have batted 370.
He actually
this year.
had 10. Thank you very much. He should have had.
That should have been 30 singles then. You know?
He
He sold out for power at the end of the year. That's why his batting average dropped.
Yeah, loser. Freaking! I bet if I took him down Sunset Street, he couldn't even last 5 minutes down there. That's why I'm saying. Okay. Anyway, I can't take the. I'm gonna have to wear the shirt the entire time, unfortunately. But all right, we are back talking Braves baseball because we are Braves cast. 1 second. Whoop.
I was not aware that we were Braves fans. I'm so sorry. I think I've hopped onto the wrong
Get you a man.
podcast.
Get you a man who can do both. Who can bandwagon any NL
I
team.
I can bandwagon very hard.
You could do the Nationals.
biggest
I mean,
I am the biggest Marlins fan for the next 3 days. 4 days?
same.
I love the fish. I love that Jacob Stallings is still our catcher, even though he can't hit. I love that we finally moved Luis Arias up in the lineup, even though he still doesn't score runs somehow.
He has.
I love.
He's like probably shouldn't be playing. I don't know what injury is, but he has a leg injury and
Yeah.
like he literally can't run right now.
He should DH, to be honest.
The game where I think the first game against the Pirates and literally they took him out for a pinch runner in the 9th inning. I mean, that's in a game, or not the 9th inning, like the 7th inning, like a game where he probably would have gone another at bat, or I think he if he
Skip
wasn't taken
Shoemaker
out.
says he's playing. So he
Just go
probably
Marlins,
shouldn't-
baby.
The easiest thing for the Marlins to do is move him to DH. Move Chisholm back to second base. Jesus Sanchez, can he play center? He doesn't seem like he can play center, but I guess he can. And then put
Maybe.
Soler in right field.
Yeah.
Like that seems like the way to go. Whether they do that or not, I don't know.
I really
Citizens
hope.
Bank Ballpark is if you don't know how to play center, it might be a terrible place to learn how to play center.
Yeah. Probably keep Jazz there.
But
I hope Jesus Luzardo, I hope he pitches the game of his life. I hope that. Oh my gosh, who's their number 2?
Braxton Garrett.
Is it really Braxton Garrett? Because I was going to make a joke of like, oh, I hope Braxton Garrett's starting game 1 of the NLDS because good things for us. But
I don't think they have another starter because I think Yuri Perez is still hurt.
yeah.
Anyway, this is a Braves
Sixto
podcast.
Sanchez.
We are.
Yeah.
We were a little pessimistic. I think we are just like any sports fan when it comes to the playoffs. We're doom and gloom until we win it all. But this Braves team, man, I think it's World Series or bust. I told myself 2 years ago that I'd be satisfied for like half a decade now that the Braves had won a World Series in my lifetime. I take that back. Like, if this team doesn't win a World Series, and this is not a bit at all, I actually will be very disappointed if the Braves don't at least make it to the World Series. It would be such a waste of talent.
You definitely do it to yourself when you win 104 games and put up a crazy run differential.
Slug 500.
Single season. Slug 500 as a team. Basically, somebody was like, they're basically, as a team, they were Austin Riley this year, who, let us not forget, was an all-star and then, like, exploded in the second half. It's one of those, I think if the Braves came out this year and, played less competitive baseball and, we're a 92, 95 win team, the pressure isn't on the same way it is for a 104 win team. I mean,
the Marlins
this feels
get
like
to the
the year.
NLCS, and that's a successful year.
Yeah.
They get to the DS, I think that's a successful year. The Braves not, and this is kind of like what happened to the Dodgers last year, but that Dodgers team won 111 games and didn't even make the NLCS. I think if I'm a Dodgers fan, even though I had won the World Series 2 years earlier, massive disappointment.
Agreed.
I think it's the same thing for the Braves this year. If they don't get past the Marlins or the Phillies, who they should. Like, I know we're terrified of of having a new Rhys Hoskins gif or Bryce Harper just hitting 5 home runs in 4 games. But the Braves, top to bottom offense, they take the Phillies offense. The Braves pitching staff, even though we're down Uncle Charlie, we still take their pitching staff.
Yeah.
Especially with the weird days off. I didn't put it in the notes, but the way the DS is working is the Braves play on Saturday. They have a day off on Sunday. They play Monday. They have a day off on Tuesday,
Travel day.
Wednesday, Thursday, and then we'll play Saturday that
Yep.
next week if they have to go to Game 5.
Yeah.
That it benefits whoever plays in the NLD or the wild card game because then they can
get an
put
extra
their
rest
best
day.
pitcher in Game 2.
Yeah.
But man, that really saves the Braves from having to use 4 starters. They really could get away technically with 2 if they
Yeah.
were being bold.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Me neither. Yeah. So from here, do we want to do just postseason roster predictions, sort of
Yeah.
who we think, the number 1's going to be, the number 2's going to be, bullpen alignment. Our bullpen alignment. I mean, the formula throughout the season's changed. I know, at one point, Joe Jimenez was like our 7th inning, 8th inning setup guy. He's played himself out of that role. I don't think he's going to get trusted with innings. Yeah. Jesse Chavez, I mean, there was a point he was our it's changed. It's kind of funny. They always talk about closer by committee. We really were a team of setup men by committee. It was really playing the hot hand. Right now, I think Pierce Johnson, he's in that conversation for setup relievers as a 7th inning, 8th inning guy. Obviously, AJ Minter is going to be there, especially if we're going into playing the Phillies and the 1-2-3's coming up. AJ Minter is going to be the guy there. What's your take on it? I mean, what do you see as the pitching path to success for the NLDS?
This was a surprisingly hard roster for me to guess. So Strider and Fried are givens. I think Elder will be on the roster. If the Braves win the first 2 games, they're going to throw Elder out there. I think.
Mm-hmm.
So he's just going to be on the roster. And then they'll recycle, if they have to, Strider and Fried. It sounds like Strider's going to go Game 1. And Fried will go Game 2 from what I've seen. Because Fried has to throw that sim game on Tuesday.
Oh.
And if he pitches on Tuesday, he can't pitch on Saturday. So he'll be going that next game. With the relievers, it's Iglesias, Minter, Jimenez, Chavez, Kyle Wright, Kirby Yates. Brad Hannon is just on there because he's the only other lefty. I don't see them making a roster move for Lutke. And if they wanted Lutke over Hand, I think they would have made that move already. And then Smith Schoffer. I think gets in as kind of a wild card long reliever. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be Johnson as the kind of the 7th inning guy. I think Chavez is the 6th inning guy with he's the fireman. If it's a clean 6th, it's probably Jimenez if they need to. If it's runners on 1st and 3rd, 2 outs, they go Chavez. He played that role in 2021 really well. He played that role during the regular season in 2022. He's that guy for 2023. It's why we love him so much, because he just goes out. He does whatever he needs to do. He gets it done, and he's a cool cat. He just does it. And
he's awesome.
Rarely ever do you see him fire it up. He expects it.
Yeah.
I see some people think that the Braves will carry Chadwick Tromp. I just don't think that's going to happen.
No, it's not necessary.
I don't think Travis d'Arnaud is going to play that much, if I'm going to be honest.
I think the idea of having 3 catchers in a postseason, I think people worry too much that a catcher is going to get injured, or I think the chances of 2 catchers. I mean, I know it's happened to us before, but the chances of 2 catchers getting hurt, and it's just not going to happen.
No. So there will be 14 position players on my roster. I don't know you have, but I just don't see the Braves carrying that extra pitcher. There's not a pitcher worth carrying to get 13. So on the infield, I think they go Olsen, Albies, Arcia, Riley, Lopez. I think we swap out Luke Williams for Vaughn Grissom. I think Luke Williams is a redundant player.
Luke Williams
I don't think he had a hit as a Brave.
He was a roster expansion guy. I mean, he's not a part of the
No,
picture at all.
he's got decent speed, but if you need a pinch runner,
You got
and
Forrest Wall.
Snicker doesn't use pinch runners very often.
Yeah.
We had Terrence Gore on the World Series roster. He got used one time. And that guy's Forrest Wall. Forrest Wall played himself, earned it. I think he plays decent defense. He stole 5 bases in 6 attempts. He had like a 278 WRC plus in very sustainable fashion. And so he's that guy. So the
congratulations,
outfield-
Forrest Wall. You get to make the postseason roster, and we're probably not going to play you unless it's like a runner on third, 1 out, 9th inning tie ball game. You might.
Yeah, you'll
go in
play.
there,
You'll get one game
Yeah.
in there. But the big thing is that you will get those playoff shares, and that 250,000, 500,000 if you win the World Series. You have made it. You were making like $5,000 a month back in May, and you're gonna make that a day in the playoffs. So congratulations, Forrest Wall. You've also, by service time, guaranteed that you get insurance for life because of the MLB union's pension plan. You have made it, sir. You are a major leaguer. Anyway, outfielders: Ronald Acuna Jr., Harris, Rosario, Pilar, Wall, and then the DH, Ozuna. So that makes 14 batters. I think my bold prediction for the offense is Grissom. I don't know if they actually do it, but he seems more serviceable as a hitter, which I think they would need. But if they had Pilar start, they pinch hit Rosario, and then Jose Alvarado comes out of the bullpen, and you might want that righty. You go Grissom, and then you replace him with Wall in the following inning.
So I'm actually gonna. I know in the notes I said that I basically agreed with the roster prediction. I don't know why I skipped over Grissom. I think we take Tonkin over Grissom. I think just in a situation where, let's say, there's a game where it's a just complete blowout. Either way, probably won't happen. Just nature of the playoffs. If we just need a guy to eat innings, Tonkin. I think you'd rather have Tonkin than Grissom, who he's not going to play a single inning in the field. It's not going to happen unless somebody gets hurt.
100% no.
And then pinch hit scenario.
Ozzy gets hurt, you have Nicky Lopez. If Riley gets hurt, you have Nicky Lopez. It's just,
in pinch hit scenario, like you said, it's most likely just going to be Rosario for Pilar or Pilar for Rosario. There's not really a reason to pinch hit anybody else. I mean, if you want to pinch hit Travis d'Arnaud, you'll just do it with Sean Murphy. So Grissom seems redundant to me, while Tonkin, there's like a 75% chance he just won't pitch an inning, but the 25% that he could, I'd rather have that than an infielder who probably is not going to see any playing time when we have Nicky Lopez. So that's my only. Everything else I agree with.
I just don't see it in the same way that you don't see the Braves using Grissom. I just don't see the Braves using Tonkin. He had a terrible September.
And again, me neither. Like I hope we don't. I mean, I love Michael Tonkin. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I hope we don't have to use him unless we're blowing the Phillies out. Unless we run the score up. Cardinals-esque. Sorry, that felt offensive. A 10-0 scenario, and hey, we don't want to. We'll let our starter go 5 or 6 innings, but we don't want to blow our bullpen up. We don't really want to use, a Brad Hand I guess Smith Shawver could be that guy too. But what if Smith Shawver goes up there? I mean, he's 20 years old. He just doesn't have it. Give it to Tonkin. That's my only change. I think Tonkin, even though he probably won't pitch, I'd just rather have him in our back pocket than Grissom, who's just feels redundant, like really extra redundant to me. You can never have enough arms.
I can see in a scenario in which a 20-year-old who learned how to pitch 3 years ago, insane, gets on a visiting mound in Citizens Bank Park in the 4th inning after Bryce Elder can't get out of the 4th inning, And that Phillies crowd they're wild.
Yeah.
And I can see a struggle. The Braves go down, God forbid, 6 or 7 runs. Throw Tonkin out for 3 innings. I can see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like and the Braves will have a different roster from what I just said in the NLCS if they get there. Then they will definitely have 13 pitchers. I feel like with only needing 3 starters, and we're actually completely glazing over Kyle Wright. I think Kyle Wright can
Fair. That's
load
fair.
the
That's
innings.
fair. Yeah, that's fair.
Um,
So you'd rather have Wright over Tonkin as a? I'm not saying I disagree or anything. I just want to. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think Wright was rushed back. I think that was the problem with him as a starter in September. The Braves needed a starter against the Phillies when the week that they clinched. They had no choice. Smith Shawver was just ramping back up. He had been out for like 3 weeks. He didn't have the inning workload. And I mean, who else are you going to turn to? You're going to turn to, I don't know, like Darius Vines, Alan Winans. Those guys are true wild cards. Alan Winans, I could see in a NLDS game 3 getting the start over Elder, throwing 7 shutout innings in a visiting ballpark, and being an Atlanta hero for life.
Yeah.
But I could also see Alan Winans going out there and pitching 2 innings and never seeing a major league mound again. Like, I don't know what to expect from him. Whereas with Kyle Wright, you have a guy. Even though like 90% of his major league wins came in 2022, he has I think a total of 3 wins outside of that season. He does have major league experience. He does have postseason experience. He has relieving experience in the World Series. He knows how to come into these games, and he was pitching 2 or 3 innings this week.
And let's not forget too, last year he was the only guy who put up a good performance against the Phillies lineup. Now that was a different Kyle Wright. That was Kyle Wright before the injuries he unfortunately suffered this year. But if
Kyle Wright had a 7 ERA this season, but I don't think that's indicative of how well pitched in October.
Yeah. So I could see Kyle Wright as the long man, the guy that we bring in. If the game is out of hand, one way or the other. I mean, I like Chavez as the fireman. Hand as lefty specialist. Minter as the 7th, 8th inning. Really, just kind of depending on lineup. You can switch Minter and Johnson out, and then Iglesias as our closer. I have a question for you that I was thinking about this week in preparation for this episode. So out of the last 3 Braves postseason teams going into the NLDS, and obviously, if you don't have the starting rotation of all those teams memorized, that's okay. Just go from gut here. How would you rank this year's rotation going into the NLDS compared to those last 2 teams?
So we're talking about 2020, 2021, 2022. Yeah.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2020 was Ian Anderson and
Nobody.
Max Fried.
Yeah.
The reason why the Braves lost the NLCS after they took the 3-1 lead is because there were no days off during the NLCS, and the Braves had to start AJ Minter. AJ Minter I think this gets lost in history, but he had 7 strikeouts and 10 batters. He went 3 whole innings. He was fantastic. The problem is the Braves lost that game, and then they didn't have Minter for Game 6. And then the bullpen was thin because they had to use, effectively 9 innings of a bullpen game. AJ Minter was a hero in 3 of those innings.
Who was the guy who was the guy with the blow-up start in the NLCS that year? It was right. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ian Anderson and Max Fried, phenomenal. Kyle Wright had a blow-up start. And then the Braves just they could not afford even a mediocre start from Max Fried. He had a mediocre start in Game 6. They couldn't afford a bad start from Ian Anderson. Ian Anderson pitched well in Game 7. But Cody Bellinger hit. Man, I'm glad he's not in the postseason this year. Not that I don't like Cody Bellinger, but just because he had 2 of the most ridiculous home runs against the Braves in the playoffs. if the Braves hadn't won the NLCS against the Dodgers in 2021, I'd still be thinking about that fastball that Luke Jackson threw about chin high that Bellinger like hit 420 feet.
Yeah.
Like what he was terrible and he did that. So 2021, who did we have? Fried,
Anderson,
Morton. Did we really only have 3 starters that
I'm just talking for NLDS. We can kind of
Yeah.
when the NLCS rolls around, we can look into it.
That,
But
that,
I remember,
yeah, 2021 was a fantastic rotation. I think of the
Yeah.
the last 3 years, not including this one, I think it's 2021.
Yeah,
I think
Morton-
when we had
it was funny too because Morton had the loss in the NLDS and he pitched really well. I think he only gave up like 1 run in
Fried
6
did.
innings.
Fried did.
Was it Fried?
The Braves lost
Okay.
the first game in the NLDS that year.
Okay, maybe I'm thinking about
I
it.
was like, the curse is happening again. The Braves are not
Yeah.
going to win the NLDS. They've already lost game 1, and then they went on and won 3 straight. But Fried did pitch. I think he only allowed 2 runs, but the Brewers have a
So no. Max Fried got the win. So 2021.
Morton started game 1.
He started
in the
game
NLDS.
1. He allowed. I gotta just see how many runs he allowed. Right here. Show. Oh my gosh. Show pitching lines. So Morton allowed 2 runs in 6 innings, only 3 hits. So I think it came on a homer by frickin' Rowdy Tellez in the 7th inning. Yeah, and that was
So the Braves
that was
lost game 2. I could've
no.
sworn they
We lost
game
game 1.
1.
We lost game 1. Won game 2 on Max Fried's performance. I think.
Oh, I don't know why I thought Max Fried started game 1.
Yeah. Me neither, actually. I think just get the veteran in, I guess. And then Ian Anderson pitched game 3, and then game 4 was, I think, back
Charlie
to Morton.
again.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had him on short
And he was
rest,
shaky.
only
Yeah,
went
and he
4
was
innings.
shaky.
He was not as good.
Yeah.
But I think of the past 3 years, I mean, 2022 we had a sick Max Fried, an injured Spencer Strider,
And just an ineffective Charlie Morton.
Yeah.
And the best Kyle Wright we've ever seen. 20-game winner, Kyle Wright.
Charlie Morton is. I wish he wasn't injured. He was much better this year than he was last year. Like it wasn't that
Yeah.
Charlie Morton just in that one playoff game wasn't good. He wasn't great in 2022.
Not at all. Had an issue with the
This
long
year
ball.
is interesting because I don't think we need to rely on a third starter. I guess now is a good time to talk about Spencer Strider. Because we're banking on Spencer Strider being Spencer Strider against good teams in 2023. Which, I don't know. Did you see that stat? I don't know what to make of it. He was really good against teams over 500 and really bad against teams that were under 500.
Yeah, I mean, he struggled against the Mets. He had that blow-up start against the Tigers, but
The
a lot
Pirates.
of the signature performances we think, Pirates too. A lot of the signature performances we think from him this year were, Marlins. He had that one start in Philadelphia that you were at. So, and I think we have the final stat lines now. He did lead the league in FIP with a 2.85. One stat that I'll get more into it when we do sort of my key takeaways. This one really popped out to me, and small sample size, yada yada. With a runner on second and third, hitters were slashing 368, 455, 632 against him. We like to talk about his how he is from the stretch versus with runners on. With runners on, overall, he wasn't awful. Like, he wasn't as bad as we think he was. It's just in specific, I would say, clutch scenarios, and clutch doesn't exist. I think it does. I think he just gets to a point where the pressure mounts and he just makes mistakes. He lights a fastball down the middle, which, again, a 98 mile per hour fastball is hard to hit no matter who you are. But those are the innings that those are the when we think of the Spencer Strider blow up innings, it's because something something akin to that happens. So I think the key for Spencer Strider is just going to be consistent, be who you are. You're still Spencer Strider no matter who's on, no matter who's up. It just, I might be projecting a little bit, but it seems like he gets in his own head. And you see that in his body language.
Yeah.
I know there's that clip on Twitter where, he broke John Smoltz's franchise record, and you see him in the clubhouse just like pulling a hissy fit. It's like, no, dude, like own it. You gave up 3 runs against the Nationals in the first inning. And maybe, oh my gosh. And maybe that's what he needed to do. It's going to be like totally red and swollen by the end of this episode. Maybe that's what he needed to do.
Say too. Like, part of me is like, hey, Spencer, calm down. Like, you're a great pitcher. I think you put too much pressure on yourself. But the other part of me is like, maybe he needs that anger after the fact because we've seen him have bad innings and then not want him to go back out for the 5th or 6th inning, and then he just mows down the next 6 batters. So I don't know. Maybe he needs that anger. I would love it if he was be able to channel it better, I guess.
Yeah.
This is not an attack on Spencer Strider. I've never heard
not
anything
at all.
negative about his character, who he is as a teammate, a pitcher. We just, as casual fans who don't know him, see him get frustrated when he does things that normal pitchers do. Really, just normal pitchers do. And I think he just needs to be reminded that it's okay that... going it's okay is not going to make it okay. But, he needs to learn over time, he doesn't need to put all the weight on the team on his shoulders.
Again, I keep going back to that start in Los Angeles against the Dodgers. That to me was like Spencer at his. I know he gave up 4 earned runs. I know it wasn't the prettiest stat line, but just the way he was able to compose himself, and even after Mookie Betts hit that homer, like he went down and dominated the rest of the game. And you're gonna have trouble. Dude, you're gonna be facing Bryce Harper a lot in the series if it goes to 4 or 5 games. You're gonna be facing Kyle Schwarber. Well, actually, Kyle Schwarber, you own Kyle Schwarber. That doesn't matter. You're gonna be facing Trey Turner a lot. You're gonna be facing Nick Castillo. You're gonna be facing some really good hitters, and they're gonna see you. They're gonna see a lot of you. I think the key for him is just don't give them anything. I know that's like a basic kind of vague baseballism. Doesn't really matter or anything, but you're Spencer Strider. Just go up there, throw 99 miles per hour because you can do that.
The fun thing about the Braves, though, is that even in bad Spencer Strider starts, the offense comes through. He only had 5 losses to his record. I think they only lost 9 games that he pitched in. He pitched in 33.
It's kind of crazy. I still have to remind myself he's a 20-game winner now. I know it doesn't matter. I know the win stat does not matter at all, but it's just that's just weird to think about. He was a 20-game winner
because
this year.
it's the point in which traditionalists, diehard traditionalists, don't even look at the ERA, wins losses or bust, and mega analytic heads who are like, his FIP was so good, his K through 9,
his F4, bro. Look at his F4.
His BABIP was way too high. We unite on that point where we're like,
exactly.
See,
yeah.
Spencer Strider was really good, 20-game winner, right?
That's hilarious.
So I think with the Braves offense, 10 minutes left. Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. So I think with the Braves offense, even if Spencer Strider has a 3-run outing, he's pitching at home this year, thank God. And the Braves offense has come through. So that's our bit on Spencer Strider. Do you want to go through your 3 keys to success?
3 keys to success. Yeah. So speaking on the offense, my first one is don't worry about changing the offensive approach because that's what teams are supposed to do. You're gonna hear so many pundits and announcers, commentators, just people on Twitter, whoever, saying, "Oh, homers don't you can't just rely on the long ball in the postseason." Screw that. No, you're the Braves.
Yeah, we
Like,
can.
get ball go boom. That's like literally ball. I wrote in my notes, ball go boom all the way to the World Series, baby. Like,
Ball
go boom. Like, that's what we do.
Philosophy.
Don't like fucking short. I gotta stop cursing. Don't like shorten up your swing and try to poke it. No, just hit as far as you can. That's what we've done all season. That's how it's worked all season. Oh,
We've got 9 guys who can hit home runs.
yeah. The weather's colder. You know what? Guess what? We hit the ball like 440 feet like it's nothing. Like, it's gonna
One
go
of our
420
home run
feet. It's
hitters
still a
is
home
a
run.
chop house merchant anyway. Like,
Yeah.
just hit it to the chop house. And
So-
I'm not talking about Olsen. I'm talking about Albies.
Yeah.
Olsen also hit it all the way to the
Guess
chop
what? If
house.
it falls a little bit short, it's just gonna be a like ringing double anyway. So yeah, like don't listen to them. And they're gonna be telling. I mean, that's I'm assuming Brian Snicker's saying in the clubhouse to them right now as we speak. My next one,
Brian
Sean
Snicker
Murphy.
would say ball go boom. Like, I
he
could
would.
see him
He
say,
would. Yeah.
Yeah.
My next one, Sean Murphy, TDI, Ti, famous rapper Ti, who signed with the Braves and is now our backup catcher. Sean Murphy, Travis starting to need to come through. They have struggled mightily in the second half. I know I had that stat, which might still be true. I know Sean Murphy hit a home run, so maybe not, but he has like as many hit by pitches in the second half as extra base hits. Hopefully the rest, they just seemed tired. That's it. It's very it's the history is there on how hard it is, catching 162 games or 120 plus games in the Southern Heat. They just looked tired. They looked worn out. Hopefully the rest gives them some time to, build back up. And not that our offense needs them, but I think if they're coming through, if Sean Murphy is first half Sean Murphy, like, it's not even like funny how easy our path to the World Series is going to be. We can still win without them, but it's like a cakewalk if they are doing what they were doing in the first half. And then my last one we talked about, Spencer Strider just needs to execute with runners on. If he can limit the damage, if it's okay. Like, look, dude, you're going to walk some guys. Some guys are going to get hits. Just no 3-run homers, man. That's it. Just like, lock
he allows
in.
the most 3-run homers I've ever seen.
Yeah. Lock in. Don't get too hard on yourself because you're gonna make mistakes. Just make sure you make mistakes in the right places. Just make I know it sounds stupid, but just make mistakes at the right time. Those are my 3 keys.
Man, you know what I'm thinking? I'm just like, man, John Smoltz needs to get down and talk to Spencer Strider. I'm like, man, that sounds terrible, but I think John Smoltz and Spencer Strider, as different as they are outside of baseball, have very similar demeanors coming into baseball. They expect to be the best. They expect to strike out everybody. One thing that I'm happy that John Smoltz, even as cranky as he is about the change in offense, he's never said anything bad about pitching strikeouts. He doesn't like batting strikeouts, but like, he's never, I don't think I've ever heard him once on a broadcast say, pitchers just need to strike out batters less.
Yeah.
Like, he's no A-Rod when it comes to...
Again, bad take possibly, and people who I guess don't, I mean, if you don't get the Braves regional broadcast, why are you watching this? But I think, and we've agreed on this before, I think John Smoltz on regional broadcast is awesome. The insights that he provides for the game, I mean, some stuff that like I've never even thought about. And I don't know, maybe the Fox producers tell him to water it down, and that's why we get a lot of these John Smoltz boomer takes. But I think whenever he's in the booth with Brandon, he is just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. So
Brandon Gaudin makes I think for the last few minutes, we need to shout out Brandon Gaudin. He got a lot of love on Braves Twitter today. We're big Brandon Gaudin fans too. But man, what a season for the broadcast. I think he made everybody better.
Yeah.
Which is hard to do as the play guy who is the new guy.
Yeah.
But he and Jeff Francoeur were a much better pairing than Chip Carey. I think Francoeur felt like he was able to speak up more than he was against Chip, and I think that banter was a lot better as a broadcast crew. Because one time I think Brandon called him Nick, and I think if Chip Carey had done that, Jeff Francoeur would have just been like, can't say anything. But Brandon Gaudin went, and then Jeff Francoeur went, "Did you just call me Nick?" And Brandon Gaudin was like, "I think I did."
Yeah.
And just that kind of interaction was fantastic. Peter
he definitely-
Moylan and him had that bit on the park bench. I don't even know where they were.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
hilarious.
In,
Chip Carey would never do that.
yeah.
Might have been San
The
Francisco.
obviously the stolen base or falling on second, and I mean Chip Carey would never. Chip Carey
would never.
He would like Joseph Stalin that clip. I mean, he would literally like make sure it's like erased from the archive. Brandon Gaudin, I mean, he's hilarious. He is, I mean, just a great, I mean, we kind of forget how good some of his calls have been just because like the minutia of his announcing has been amazing. The Ronald Acuna grand slam for his 30th home run. I mean, that was, that ball is history.
And Ronald Acuna Jr. just made history. He has Major League Baseball's first ever 30-60 season.
I'll put it in.
And he does it in
Yeah.
Also, his call on the 40-70 steal, phenomenal.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was just a perfect call. I think it was just like, there it is.
He did it. A 40-70 season and a season unlike any other in Major League Baseball history for Ronald Acuna Jr.
And when he was all of us Braves fans. I think Chip Carey had this. He was a Braves fan watching the games, but like he felt like he needed to have some sense of partiality. Brandon Gaudin's a Braves fan. Like he is all of us. He's on the Ozuna home run to tie the record. It sounded like a walk-off home run call.
Come on, Big Bear. Marcel hits it to right. Get up. Get going. Yes! 307! The Braves tie the all-time single-season home run record.
Yeah.
It
They were
was
so funny
they were
about
so
that
excited.
too. Yeah.
And I think
Like-
just the crew as a all together with Gaudin, it's just phenomenal. Brandon Gaudin, if you somehow watch this clip, and I probably will clip it and turn it into a YouTube short, you have an invitation to come on our podcast. We'd love
That'd
to
be
talk
cool.
to you.
Yeah.
We don't have to compare you to your predecessor. We just want to talk to you. We think you're a phenomenal broadcaster.
You've made, even if this was like a 90 loss season, you made it worth it. You just, your humor, your humility, your play-by-play, your relationship with Peter, Nick, Jeff, John, Tom
Glavine
even.
was better this year.
Yeah.
He made Glavine really good too.
Brandon just brought out the best in everyone. And he had such a different relationship. Like, Peter Moylan, there was like this younger brother thing. And, I think they felt like they could poke fun at each other and both know that, they're cool. They're just cool guys. No, he was awesome. He made the season such a pleasure to watch. And I hate to say it, and I know you said let's not compare him to his predecessor, but like he made me hate Chip Carey more. I was a Chip Carey fan. I was always a Chip Carey defender. He made me kind of resent Chip Carey. Like, oh, we could have had this guy the entire time. Like, and we had Chip Carey, Mr. A fan from, Coweta County caught that ball. Like, that's who we had growing up.
I haven't heard that in a year, and I'm so glad that I haven't had to hear that in a year.
I'm so glad too.
Please, Brandon, come on our podcast. We'd love to talk to you.
We love you, Brandon.
You have the month off. I don't know if you're calling football games or what, but come and do a recap with us.
We can pay you like $50 too. If that means the pot.
Yeah, we don't have much money, but we can pay you $50.